The year is 2022, and the Snowballs are still looking to find their way into relevancy. There's one event left in the showdown this year, and they're in dead last, and need an incredible last event to even avoid relegation. They have yet to qualify for a Marble League, and it's now been 4 years since they hosted the 2018 Winter League and finished 7th. They've even lost Marbula 1, which has been their lone saving grace in recent years, as they were not invited to Marbula 1 Season 3. Their situation seems hopeless. 3 years later, they're auto-qualified for the 2025 Marble League, are a surefire lock for Marbula 1 Season 6, and are firmly in the group of potential favorites to win both competitions. So, what happened? How did this team not only escape the basement, but also establish themselves as one of the best teams in the world? Let's go back to the very beginning. Snow, snowy, snowflake, snowstorm. This was the first ever roster the Snowballs fielded. It didn't go so well in the first year, with their only medal coming from a technicality in Event 2, thanks to the infamous track defect in the relay race. No, not that one. Or that one. That one! Trivia time! Who was the first ever Snowball to participate in an individual event? I'm sure you guessed Snowflake, in which case you'd be correct. They finished 8th in the Sand Rally. Despite the not terrible start being 8th in the points after the Sand Rally race, it fell apart after that. Their best finish the rest of the way was 5th from Snow. And they could have very easily finished last overall, but Snowy's 6th place in hurdles got them 14th. But in the 2017 qualifiers, they got off to a really good start. The team finished 8th in relay, and then Snowstorm got their second individual event, and they finished an impressive 5th in the Sand Rally. The Snowballs have put themselves in a perfect position to cruise into the 2017 Marble League. This one was over. Look at their current standing position and how far ahead of the cutoff they are. Then they finished last in block pushing. Okay, but it's no big deal. They're still in the top half, and they just need a decent performance in funnel and dirt.
Race up top. Well, Rangers drops through. Then it's the Midnight Wisps.
Step up in funnels, make the Marble League. Snow didn't, Quicks and Waspy did, and the Snowballs' clean path to the Marble League melted like a snowman. But the Snowballs wouldn't need to worry about that happening again in 2018 because congratulations, you're hosting. And welcome new reserve Snowblast to the team. And the Snowballs got off on the right non-existent foot. Snow made the finals for the Ice Dash and finished 4th. But they fell back down to earth after that. A dead last finish in half pipe pushed them down to 11th. But there were brighter times ahead, as Snowflake of all marbles was the first ever Snowball to podium in an individual event at speed skating. And then Team Pursuit.
Now on to the final in Team Pursuit. The Snowballs and the Raspberry Racers. Could the Snowballs be on the way to their first gold medal of their own games? This last turn will decide it. It'll be close, but they get it. The Snowballs win gold.
The Snowballs shot up to 3rd overall, just behind the Oceanics and Hazers. Snowy kept that momentum going with a great performance in the Snow Rally, 4th, and the Snowballs moved into 2nd, just behind the new leading Savage Speeders. Unfortunately, this would not be the Snowballs' year, as they failed to finish in the top half again until the last event, the Sand Moguls. But still, failing to qualify to 7th overall is a big improvement. Next up, the 2019 qualifiers. Never mind. The Snowballs failed to finish better than 15th in the first 3 events, and had basically no chance of making the league before the final event even started. The Snowballs would head to the inaugural showdown and were back to trending downwards. But then, there came a twist. Snowstorm finished 3rd in the Sand Rally, and a solid collision put them in 4th overall. And then it was their time for redemption in funnel endurance.
2 funnels in a row, and they jump into 4th. Rojo Dos gets the bronze. Oh, who will get this gold, though? Snowballs and Minty Maniacs circling the opening, and it will be Minty Maniacs. Snowballs win the event. Minty Swirl drops through. Snow from the Snowballs gets the gold.
Snow's win clinched a spot in the 2020 qualifiers, but why not finish second in balancing to clinch the first ever Showdown championship? With this impressive performance, the Snowballs were invited to the inaugural season of Marbula 1. With how last season went, most front offices would probably pick Snow and Snowstorm, but Coach Blizzard and manager Avalanche saw something in one of their other marbles. Little did anyone know yet, this decision was about to change the course of Yellow's marble run's history. Snowy. Until Marbula 1, they only had 3 individual events to their name, including a DNF in their career debut. But the Snowballs selected them to compete alongside Snowflake. Snowy would start the first race at the Savage Speedway, and after qualifying 5th for the race, they immediately proved that they belonged.
Stretch on lap number 1. Coming across in lap number 2, we do have a lead change. The Snowballs out in front.
They would fade down the stretch after leading early, but with a last lap pass, they finished 3rd, netting their first career podium. And the next week, Snowflake didn't let their teammate down at the old raceway, battling back from a poor qualifying run to finish 6th. But the Mo Motorway would be Snowy's worst race of the season. They qualified down in 15th, but did their best in a tough-to-pass track in the race to finish 9th. Yeah, Snowy's worst race of the season, a 9th place finish. Next up was the Hive Drive. Did you know that Snowflake has a pole position win? Because I sure didn't. It took Snowflake a third of a lap to fall from pole to outside the top 5, and by race end, they had fallen all the way down to 14th. This would unfortunately be a sign of things to come. Snowflake goes for another race the next race at Greenstone, but it doesn't go any better, qualifying in 10th and finished 13th. The Snowballs have fallen all the way down to 10th overall. Snowy has the next race, Short Circuit, but at first it doesn't seem any better. They qualify in 10th. After lap 3, they'd moved into 4th, but despite having a great race, this race seemed pretty clearly over. Team Primary Breakout Prim had been absolutely dominant, winning pole and showing off their unmatched ability to defend and overtake. They had a comfortable lead, until they made the biggest mistake of their career, hitting the attenuator and losing all of their advantage. Race on.
Snowy, but this is still anybody's race farther back behind, especially for the podium spots. Speedy takes second place. Shock goes by. Into P2. Ooh, Sublime having some trouble in the first turn, coming to a complete stop. That's going to cause a yellow. What will that do to the race finish? I don't think it should matter all that much, so Snowy should be able to hold on here in front of Shock and Speedy. Prim, Yellow, Rojo Dos, Mimo, and Smoggy.
With that win from Snowy, the Snowballs move from 10th to 4th overall. And if Snowflake can do well at Razway, they might, just might, have a chance. Never mind. Snowflake finishes a very par for the course 13th place, eliminating the Snowballs from championship contention. However, they can finish on the overall podium if Snowy does well and they catch a few breaks. What's much more realistic, however, is the individual championship for Snowy. Smoggy from the Hazers is the clear favorite, having won the last race and holding the current lead. But out of all of the racers that are participating in the finale, Snowy has the most points. If Snowy wins, it's over. Snowy qualifies 8th, which is actually their second best qualifying run of the season, but they have a tendency to struggle in qualifying and make up for it in the race. But Snowy struggles to start out running in 10th, and at the front, their biggest competitor for the individual title, Prim, is leading. Prim slips up on the bell and loses the lead, but Speedy, the new leader, is also eligible for the championship. It's a worst-case scenario for Snowy. They need to climb, but this is Snowy we're talking about. At the halfway point, Snowy kicks it into a new gear, and before anyone realizes what's happening, they're in 4th. And on the final lap, they make the pass on Prim for 3rd, which knocks Prim off the individual podium completely. But at this moment, while Snowy might not realize it yet, they're 1 point short. They need one more position. They need to pass Mallard. Snowy closes the gap quickly, and exiting the bridge, Snowy is very much in striking distance. But right when Snowy gets the momentum they need and have a chance down the final straightaway, they hit the attenuator. Just like the mistake Prim made at the short circuit that cost them the individual championship. Now it's Snowy's turn. This moment is completely forgotten in Yellow's Marble Run's history because everybody was focused on Speedy holding off Mallard to win the Speeders the team championship. But the Speeders Marbula 1 Season 1 championship sweep very nearly didn't happen if it weren't for Snowy heading into pit lane on the final lap. Snowy just barely holds off Prim for third place, otherwise it would have been them who fell off the individual podium. But with this mistake, Snowy lost out on more than just the individual championship. The Snowballs as a team finished fourth, just 3 points back of the Rangers for the final spot on the podium. Had Snowy finished second, they would have been tied. That tiebreak, given the Snowball's superior medal type and count, would have went to them. But there are no almost in marble racing. With this great performance in Marble in the Showdown, there were high hopes for the Snowballs entering the 2020 Marble League. Balancing went pretty well with a 9th place finish. Snow didn't do great in funnels, but they were still just 1 point out of a spot in the league. And in block pushing, they made that up and then some. 5th place pushed them up to 7th with an 8-point cushion. And if this wasn't good enough of a situation already, they have an obvious candidate to send for the 5-meter sprint. Blizzard! Why on earth is Snowflake in?
Out of the gate, Mellow Yellow gets away very cleanly and should win the heat. I don't know if the Wisps weren't ready, but that was very slow. Look at up top, bounding back and forth from side to side in the lane. And that's the Captain Snowflake going laterally instead of forward.
Yup. Snowflake went for the 5-meter sprint. They finished dead last. All they needed was 2 points, and they got 0. But how do I know that Snowy would have gotten those 2 points anyways? Because surely they wouldn't go on to, win this event at some point in the future, right? I mean, why am I even thinking about such a crazy idea? They were going back to the Showdown, and things did not get any better. Dead last in half-pipe, struggling in black hole funnels, and struggling in sand moguls. Just like that, the Snowballs had gone from a surefire qualifier for the main league to being relegated. After this disastrous calendar year for Snowflake, they lost their captain spot, and it was given to Snowy. Even Marble 1 Season 2 didn't go any better. Snowy was just solid the whole year, failing to land on a podium despite their consistency. And while Snowstorm showed potential, they failed to get results. The Snowballs as a team failed to finish on a podium, 12th out of 20 overall, with Snowy in 16th out of 40, and Snowstorm all the way back in 32nd. The Snowballs were bailed out by the lack of relegation and competed in the 2021 qualifiers, but they might as well have not even showed up. They were one of 2 teams in Group A that failed to finish in the top half of any event. Back to the Showdown. As you can see, Coach Blizzard still hasn't figured out that Snowy should compete in individual events, as Snow competes in the sprint and finishes last. And their nightmare in funnel endurance continued, with Snowblast finishing last. Back-to-back last place finishes, even in a 12-event format, is really rare. But they were able to right the ship with 2 wins after that. They were able to salvage a top half finish in the Showdown. But during the offseason, heart-wrenching news for the Snowballs. They would not be invited back to Marble 1 Season 3. They would need to earn their spot again. Also during the offseason, the Snowballs said goodbye to 2 marbles, Snow and the shocker Snowflake. The former captain was now gone. Snowdrift and Snowfall would replace them. Heading into the 2022 qualifiers, the Snowballs still had some hopes, but it didn't go well. Climbing did not go as planned, and they used both of their best speed competitors, Snowy and Snowstorm, in the event. This meant that they'd be throwing Snowdrift straight into the fire, sending them out for their first career event in hurdles. Snowdrift didn't do terrible 8th place, but the Snowballs simply needed more. Balancing went well with a 3rd place finish, but Snowfall probably needed to win triathlon, and it didn't happen. Showdown time yet again. 11th in climbing, 10th in the sprint, and 6th in the water race put the team in a decent spot. But the team uncharacteristically struggled in relay, and this sent them right back to relegation territory. And the team has never done well in block pushing. 15th sent them down to dead last. And back-to-back below-average finishes kept them there. One event left, the sand rally. And this is where we were at the start of the video. In desperation time, they finally gave the start to Snowy.
Finish line nearly in sight. Thunderbolts try to hold off the Snowballs. Indigo Stars. And it will be the Thunderbolts challenged at the line. Snowy wins. The Snowballs miraculously have escaped elimination.
The Snowballs survived and advanced to the 2023 qualifiers. While few may have realized it at the time, this would be the turning point in the Snowballs' history. And this team had their sights firmly on greatness.